I'm the twin nobody bet on. The one who slipped out first, eyes wide, lungs silent, as if I already knew the world would demand proof of my right to breathe. Jessica came 6 minutes later, fists balled, voice splitting the delivery room like a siren. The nurses laughed, said she'd be the fighter. They weren't wrong. They just never asked what fighting would cost the quiet one. The kitchen that afternoon smelled like burnt sugar and finality. Mom's fingers, nails painted the same soft pink she'd worn to every one of Jessica's volleyball banquets, moved in practiced arcs, piping rosettes onto cupcakes so delicate they looked photoshopped. Rosewater pistachio. Yuzu meringue. Matcha lavender. Flavors nobody in our family even liked. The display stand was 3 tiers of excess, a wedding cake for a graduation that wasn't mine. My diploma, still warm from the printer, edges crisp, leaned against a box of off-brand cereal because every inch of wall had been annexed years ago. Jessica's state championship plaque. Jessica's academic decathlon medal. Jessica's newspaper clipping. Local phenom leads team to nationals. My name appeared exactly once. In the background of a team photo, my face half obscured by someone else's pom-pom. Jessica deserves it more, honey. Mom didn't look up. The words drifted out the way you'd mention rain, casual, inevitable, already decided. My heart answered with a single, brutal kick against bone. I set the diploma down like it might explode. We had the same GPA, Mom. Same USMLE scores. Same match list. Same everything. She finally glanced over, eyes soft with the same mild disappointment she'd worn since I was 7 and refused to cry when I lost the spelling bee to a girl who'd practiced with a private tutor. Jessica's always been more dedicated to her studies. You've had other interests. Other interests. The phrase landed like a scalpel slipped between vertebrae. Translation: the 3 a.m. lab sessions where I taught myself to suture on pig skin because the sim lab was booked. The cadaver dissections I paid for by bartending until my feet blistered and my tips smelled like cheap beer. The research grant I wrote on cafeteria napkins while Jessica was in Aspen learning to snowboard with kids whose parents owned islands. Dad walked in wearing the same navy blazer he'd worn to Jessica's high school graduation, the one he skipped mine for because traffic was murder from the airport. He slung an arm around Mom like they were still 25 and in love, like the years hadn't calcified into separate continents. No one's punishing you, Elena. You're resourceful. Resourceful. The word tasted like rust and old blood. It was their favorite anesthesia, numb the wound, pretend it's healing, send the bill to the kid who'll figure it out alone. I left before the scream in my throat could escape. My white coat was still warm from the dryer. I pulled it on like chainmail, the fabric heavy with hospital smells, iodine, latex, the metallic tang of someone else's emergency. My phone vibrated against my hip, a lifeline in the dark. Dr. Marisol Reyes *** Patterson Fellowship. My office. Now. Bring the drive, ***. The thumb drive in my pocket was a live grenade. 2 years of data, kids who should have died from brain bleeds but walked out talking because I refused to accept the 87% mortality rate in the textbooks. Whatever waited in that office was about to light a match under tomorrow night's debt-free coronation for St. Jessica, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to watch it burn or run. The hospital at night is a different country. Fluorescent lights buzz like dying insects, casting everything in a sickly green pallor. I took the service elevator to the research wing, badge tapping against the reader with a sound like a heartbeat. Dr. Reyes' door was ajar, a sliver of light cutting across the linoleum. She didn't sit. She never did when she was about to drop a bomb. Elena. Her voice was low, surgical, the kind that could cut through bone without leaving a scar. The Patterson Committee convened at 1900 hours. They reviewed 412 applicants from every Ivy, every state school, every corner of the continent. They chose one. I stopped breathing. The air in the room thickened, pressed against my eardrums. You. The word detonated inside my chest, shrapnel of joy and terror. Johns Hopkins. Full loan forgiveness. A stipend that could buy my mother's entire cupcake budget for a decade and still have change for a house. I gripped the edge of her desk, knuckles white. They picked me. Your dual modality protocol. Surgical decompression plus targeted thrombolysis dropped mortality 42% in the under 12 cohort. The committee used the word revolutionary 3 times in the same sentence. One reviewer called it the kind of work that rewrites textbooks. She allowed herself half a smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes, but still felt like sunrise. I'm announcing it at Jessica's party. Your parents invited me as faculty courtesy. I accepted. My laugh came out strangled, half sob, half prayer. They'll hate it. It's her night. They rented the rooftop, hired a string quartet, printed banners. Dr. Rhea's eyes turned to flint. Then let the truth crash the party. Let it shatter their crystal and spill their champagne. You've earned the right to be seen. She handed me a printed email, official letterhead, embossed seal, my name in bold like a verdict. I folded it into my pocket like contraband, the paper crisp against my fingertips. I didn't go home. Couldn't. The apartment smelled like old coffee and the lavender candle Jessica gave me for Christmas, asterisk, because you're always stressed, live asterisk, and every shadow felt like an accusation. I opened the group chat with my parents. Mom asterisk asterisk business casual tomorrow. Let Jessica have her moment. This is very important to her, asterisk. Jessica asterisk asterisk this is mortifying. Wish they'd celebrate. Both of us. See you there, asterisk. I stared at the ceiling until the cracks in the plaster looked like fault lines. For the first time, I wondered if Jessica had been drowning in the same current I'd been fighting, just on the other side of the boat, waving for help while everyone cheered her forward. Sleep never came. I watched the sky shift from black to bruised to the thin, reluctant gray of a Cleveland winter dawn. My phone buzzed again, Jessica. Jessica asterisk asterisk can't sleep. Mom's making custom macarons. Macarons, live. For a graduation party. I tried to tell her it's too much. She said Jessica's worked so hard. I feel like a fraud, asterisk. I typed back before I could stop myself. Asterisk, you're not the fraud. They are, asterisk. 3 dots. Then I know. The message sat between us like a live wire. The rooftop terrace that evening glittered like a jewelry box someone had shaken too hard. Detroit's skyline stretched below, all sharp edges and cold light, the river a black ribbon reflecting the city's excess. The banner screamed congratulations Dr. Jessica Moreau in gold foil taller than I was, the letters catching the wind like sails. No mention of the second Dr. Moreau. No mention that 2 women had bled for the same degree. I wore navy silk that cost 2 shifts tips at the Trauma Bay Bar, the fabric cool against skin still raw from yesterday's 36-hour call. Jessica broke from the crowd in silver sequins that caught every light like she was the moon and I was the eclipse. Her hair, same blonde, same waves, was cut in a sharp bob that made her look like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Mine was twisted back in a low knot, practical, invisible. Liv, she grabbed my arm, nails digging in just enough to ground me. Aunt Patty asked if I'm seeing anyone serious. I told her I'm married to my pager and we're very happy. We laughed, sharp, conspiratorial, the sound of 2 people who'd learned early that humor was the only armor that didn't weigh you down. This is insane. She whispered, leaning close so her breath warmed my ear. They invited the dean. The dean, Liv. And Dr. Lang from cardio. For me, we both graduated. We both had the same sleepless nights, the same panic attacks before step 2, the same. She stopped, eyes shining. You did it without tutors. Without ski trips. Without anyone believing in you but yourself. Her words were morphine numbing the edges, then revealing the pain underneath in high definition. Mom appeared like a storm front in pearl earrings, champagne flute weaponized. Jessica, Dr. Lang is here, chief of cardio. He's very interested in your research. She plucked Jessica away with the ease of long practice, then tossed over her shoulder. Liv, check the gluten-free apps. Cousin Beth's being dramatic again. I was demoted to party logistics while Jessica got paraded like a prize calf at auction. The string quartet sawed through Vivaldi with mechanical precision. Waiters in white gloves circulated with trays of caviar I couldn't pronounce. Across the terrace, Dad introduced Jessica to Dr. Lang as our neurosurgery star. Jessica's focus was neuropsychiatry, not surgery. They were lying. To a department chair. About my sister. The lie landed like a fist to the solar plexus. Dr. Reyes arrived in crimson silk that moved like blood, eyes scanning the crowd like she was already performing the autopsy on my parents' carefully curated narrative. She caught my gaze across the sea of sequins and champagne flutes, lifted her chin in a gesture that said, "Hold on." The slideshow looped on a massive screen behind the bar. Jessica at prom in a dress that cost more than my first car. Jessica at match day holding her envelope like a winning lottery ticket. Jessica blowing out candles on a cake shaped like a stethoscope. I appeared in exactly 3 frames, once in the background of a volleyball huddle, once half cut off at graduation, once as a blur passing behind Jessica during a family vacation. Photo. I was the glitch in their perfect film. The smudge on the lens. Dinner was announced with the pomp of a royal coronation. I was seated at the kids' table, literally. Plastic dinosaurs and sippy cups ring my plate like a moat. The adult table glittered at the front. Mom, Dad, Jessica, our grandparents, Dr. Lang, the dean. I was close enough to hear every word, far enough that I couldn't respond without shouting. Dad stood, glass raised, voice booming with the confidence of a man who'd never once doubted his own script. To Jessica, debt-free and destined for greatness. Medical school is a gauntlet, and to emerge not only with a degree, but without a penny of debt is a testament to her dedication, her grit, her. Applause drowned the rest. Polite, practiced, deafening. Mom stood to join him, pearls catching the light. We invested in her future because we knew she'd make us proud. From the moment she was born, Jessica showed us what determination looks like. The word invested sliced clean through me. Past tense. Singular. As if I'd been a side project that never quite panned out. Jessica's face crumpled like tissue paper in rain. She stood so fast her chair scraped backward with a sound like a scream. Stop. The room froze. Even the string quartet missed a note. This is wrong. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. Liv and I had the same GPA. Same boards. Same match list. She did it without the tutors you paid for, without the ski trips, without, she looked at me, eyes shining with tears and something fiercer. Without anyone believing in her but herself. This party, this banner, this lie, it's not celebration. It's erasure. Dad's smile calcified into something brittle. Jessica, sweetheart, tonight's about. No, she cut him off with a slash of her hand. Tonight's about truth. And the truth is you chose. Every day you chose. And I let you. I'm done. My pulse was a war drum, loud enough I was sure the entire terrace could hear it. The air tasted like metal and impending storm. Dr. Reyes rose like a phoenix from the ashes of my parents' narrative. If I may add something. Her voice carried the authority of someone who'd held a human brain in her hands and put it back together. Silence dropped so hard you could hear ice melt in 100 glasses. Elena Moreau has been awarded the Patterson Fellowship at Johns Hopkins. The words detonated. Gasps rippled outward like rings in water. Phones lifted, cameras flashing. The committee cited her revolutionary dual-modality protocol for pediatric neurovascular repair, a protocol she developed largely independently while working 80-hour weeks, publishing in Nature Neuroscience, and mentoring first years who thought 3 a.m. was a reasonable bedtime. Full loan forgiveness. Effective immediately. She wasn't done. Additionally, our department has unanimously voted to cover all remaining loans for Dr. Moreau in recognition of contributions that have already saved 47 pediatric lives in the greater Detroit area alone. Contributions completed without family support, without fanfare, without, her gaze flicked to my parents, sharp as a scalpel. Without the basic acknowledgement that genius doesn't need a cheering section to change the world. The applause wasn't polite. It was a tidal wave, crashing over the terrace, drowning every lie my parents had ever told. People stood. Strangers hugged me. A resident I'd trained wiped tears from her eyes. Dr. Lang approached, hand extended. Elena, we'd love to keep you in Detroit post-fellowship. Your work belongs here. Jessica stepped forward before I could answer, sequins flashing like armor. She's going to Baltimore. But when she rewrites medicine again, and she will remember Detroit begged first. The room laughed. With me. Not at me. For the first time in my life, the sound of approval was aimed at me. Dad tried to salvage the wreckage. We're proud of both. Dr. Reyes cut him off with a look that could have stopped a heart. Pride is easy when it's public. Try showing up to the lab at 3 a.m. when no one's watching. Try reading a grant proposal at 2 a.m. because your daughter can't afford the application fee. Try seeing her when she's bleeding and still smiling. Mic drop. Literal silence. The string quartet didn't dare start again. I stood. The terrace lights blurred into constellations, each bulb a star finally aligned in my favor. For the first time, the sky felt like it was looking back at me. Later, by the railing, the city lights smeared across the river like spilled paint, gold, crimson, electric blue. Jessica found me, heels kicked off, barefoot on the cold concrete. I should have said something sooner, she whispered, voice raw. Every time they skipped your presentation, every time they paid for my MCED course, but told you to use Khan Academy, I should have. You just did. I cut her off, gentler than I'd ever been. You stood up in front of everyone who matters and called them out. That's not nothing. She hugged me tight, like we were 8 again, and the world hadn't yet decided which twin got the oxygen. Her sequin scratched my cheek, but I didn't care. Behind us, our parents approached, slower than tectonic plates, faces pale as the moon. Dad cleared his throat, the sound of a man swallowing glass. Elena, the watch. He held out a velvet box, the same rose gold timepiece they'd given Jessica 6 months ago for her birthday. I didn't look. Keep it. Time's the one thing you can't buy back. Mom's eyes filled with tears that looked genuine for the first time in years. We love you both equally. Jessica's laugh was sharp as broken crystal. Love isn't a feeling, Mom. It's a verb. And you conjugated it wrong for 26 years. I took Jessica's hand. We're done auditioning for roles you cast us in. The play's over. The Patterson letter was in my clutch, heavy as a heartbeat. Heart. My daughter died at 3. I thought I was alone. Thank you for proving love can outrun death. I cried so hard the giraffe's neck went stiff with salt. 6 months post-funeral, I stood on the Hilton ballroom stage in the same black dress, now 2 sizes too big. Behind me, a check the size of a billboard, $1.2 million from viewers who'd watched my pain and decided to turn it into oxygen. I didn't read the speech I'd rehearsed. I looked straight into the camera and spoke to every parent who'd ever buried a future. Milo never learned to ride a bike. He never lost a tooth. He never asked why the sky was blue. But tonight his heartbeat funds 32 scholarships, wipes out 41 hospital liens, and buys a mobile ICU for OHSU's tiniest warriors. His 3 years will save hundreds. That is what forever looks like. The room erupted. I floated off stage on applause and strangers' tears. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I answered because some wounds like to rip themselves open. Mom's voice, paper thin. We're being evicted. The motel wants cash up front. Your father sleeps in the car. Please, Nora. He was our grandson too. I heard Dad coughing in the background. Lila whispering, tell her we're sorry. I pressed the phone so hard the screen spiderwebbed. Say his name, I said. Silence. Say Milo. A sob, then nothing. I ended the call, blocked the number, and donated another 50 grand in their names. Let the tax receipt be their apology. 8 months later, I moved to a loft with windows big enough to let sunrise bleed across the hardwood. Milo's room travels in cedar boxes labeled in his crayon scrawl. I visit his grave every Sunday with fresh lelos. I read him donor letters aloud. Last week, a little girl named Amaya, bone cancer survivor, age 4, sent a video blowing kisses. Thank you, Milo's mom. I get to start kindergarten because of your brave boy. I played it on loop until the battery died. Some nights I still wake reaching for his warm weight. Some mornings I still pour 2 bowls of waffle cereal. But the hollow has edges now. And inside those edges grow children who will never know hunger or hospital bankruptcy. That is vengeance soft enough to sleep with. I kept one thing from the old life. The broken Mont Blanc. I glued the nib back crooked, filled it with indigo ink. and signed every foundation check with it. Every swirl is a reminder. Love can be a weapon, but only if you aim it forward. So here's my question, whispered to you across the dark. If the people who taught you family turned your grief into a price tag, would you burn the ledger? Or rewrite it in brighter blood? Comment your answer. Every reply buys another night in a hospital bed for a kid who still has tomorrows. Milo is listening. His lellos are blooming. And for the first time since the monitors went silent, so am I. Turn on notifications. The story isn't over. It's just learning how to fly.